Lloyd, why do you think that Mitt Romney's not talking about President Obama's abysmal track record for small business?
Well, I think it's a big mistake. I sent him I wrote a national press release suggesting that he bring that up. In the first debate, I think, Obama challenged Governor Romney's definition of a small business by saying it would include Donald Trump. And my advice to him was, why don't you go ahead and read a list of the firms that President Obama is considering small businesses, like Lockheed, Boeing, Northrop, IBM, Hewlett-Packard, Oracle, Finn Mechanic in Italy, and what was the Russian company?
Rosoboron Export.
Rosoboron Exports, yeah. So the Obama administration gave $370 million in U.S. government small business contracts to an international arms dealer owned by the Russian government. Can you think of a company that is more opposite of American small business than a Russian-owned arms dealer? But that's what happened. Look it up, folks. It's a fact. It's still listed today, I think, as a minority-owned company. After the story came out in the press, they changed it. So my concern is that Governor Romney, I mean, that is just such a knockout punch for Obama. Can you see Romney on national television, reading a list of the companies that President Obama is giving small business contracts to? 100% of the electorate would be outraged, but he's not doing it. And here's my fear. My fear is that he's not going to talk about it because he's going to continue it. And this has gone on for a long time. It went on, I think it's gone on for 20 years. It probably went on I know it went under Clinton and under Bush and now Obama. And my biggest fear is that Governor Romney, who talks about creating jobs in America, is going to continue the illegal process of diverting federal small business contracts to large businesses. So think of it this way, folks. I always say this in my videos. U.S. Census Bureau says small businesses create over 90% of all the net new jobs. Kauffman Foundation says small businesses have created 100% of the net new jobs since 1980. The lowest number I've ever seen come from the Labor Department. They say 66% of all net new jobs come from small businesses. So any way you look at it, small businesses are responsible for the overwhelming majority of net new jobs. Now, what's the biggest program in America to reinvest in the middle class? The Small Business Act. That law says a minimum of 23% of the total value of all federal contracts and subcontracts should go to small businesses. It's a great law. Congress realized in 1953 when they passed that law that it was a great way to reinvest our tax dollars back into the companies where most Americans work. Remember this, according to the Census Bureau data, small businesses employ half the private sector workforce. They're responsible for half the gross domestic product. In addition to 90% of net new jobs, 90% of all U.S. exporters are small businesses. So whether you like it or not, this is a small business country with a small business-based economy. That's where the jobs come from. And the biggest program is the Small Business Act. Here's a statement that came from the SB Inspector General in 2005. I've got it memorized. I don't have to read it anymore. One of the biggest challenges facing the Small Business Administration and the entire federal government today is that large businesses are receiving federal small business procurement awards and agencies are receiving credit for these awards. Governor Romney, this has been reiterated by Obama's Inspector General every year that he's been president for 4 consecutive years. Let me focus your attention on the entire federal government today. I think 4 or 5 different Inspector Generals have agreed with this. It's a big problem. You need to talk about it. You need to challenge Obama on it. And if you refuse to do that, then I know what that means. I know that means you're going to continue the Obama administration's illegal policy of diverting small business contracts away from the middle class into the hands of the biggest companies on the planet. And remember, these large corporations are not creating net new jobs in America. They're shipping jobs overseas. By the way, Obama gave you a hard time for shipping jobs overseas. He's giving small business contracts to dozens of foreign-owned companies. Dozens. Why don't you bring that up? It's a very appropriate thing. But again, if you don't do that, you and me are going to have some trouble. I'll be making videos about you, this time next year, if you're elected. So this is a perfect issue for you to talk about. If you don't, I think you're making a huge mistake, and I think it's going to cost you the White House.
That was good.